So it's the second part of the show. So as Karan said, we will be doing some satisfying digital art in Cinema 4D. I'll show my personal artwork I do for myself. Sometimes I sell some of such artworks. But yeah, let's start. So this is the first screen. This is who I am and what I do. This is how I define my career at this this stage of my life. So this is like a couple of like clients I've worked with or worked for. So I was quite fortunate and honored. So this is the splash screen we were talking about. It's no longer the same, unfortunately. So I will need to, drop a single tear every time I open the new release. But I hope we'll. All right. So and this is the show reel. I'll just show it. It's like 1 minute, just a compilation of works I've done in the last maybe a couple of years. Let's see if it plays because you never know. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So the next thing I'm going to show you just a couple of artworks I've done in the last maybe year. I'll tell you what exactly was done in Cinema 4D. But basically, everything you will see was or have been done in Cinema 4D. So the first art film I'm going to, it was like the personal art film I decided to create for myself, just to create um, a seamless like animation that would be perfectly looped, so you could put it on an LED screen, on your smartphones, wallpapers. You can use it anywhere. I just wanted to show how satisfying cloner objects and standard modificators can be in Cinema 4D. So basically, it's just one cloner object with a rectangular shape, like hexagon shape. And if you are the cloner objects attached to that shape, and all of that just flows, we change the colors. So I've done this animation maybe in a couple of days, and it took me more just to render it because it wasn't 4K. I also upscaled it to 8K, so we could create very nice and beautiful close-ups. This animation was created with some soft body in Cinema 4D, so just some primitives. I wanted to create an effect of cell division inside glass structure. We can see like in beauty industry. This one, I tested the new cloth simulation, which was driven by the nose fields, by some modificators. It was pretty cool to also play with sound design. This is the Voronoi fracture objects. Yeah, it's a bit dark. It's supposed to be dark, but this is even dark here. So no worries. This one was made with I think, spline simulation and hair simulation. I literally just turned off the gravity that's allowed the splines to floating in space, creating these magical patterns. This one was done with the Cinema 4D Pyro Solver. So basically, we just had 3 spheres, and then we applied the cloner objects and used those as a main emitter. It's also done in 1 day. This particular animation, I would just wanted to create something very satisfying, like a kaleidoscope, where you just look at it and you have no idea what's happening, but you're fascinated by the colors, by the contrasts, and also. So this animation will be playing around with today. I'm going to show the process behind it. So this is the MoGraph simulation bullet animation in Cinema 4D. All right. And I will also explain how we usually work with close-ups and how I make close-up shots for prints, for wallpapers, how I can just take one single scene and elevate it. So now we're jumping into Cinema 4D. This is this scene, the original one I made maybe a couple of months ago, and I decided to revisit that in order to present it here at IBC. So we have the animation, as you can see, just cubes, and then they start changing shape and becoming more round. I also play with camera, with pan, with dolly zoom. We change the focal points. So we start from this angle, then we zoom in and we change the focus. And this is what we have. So I'm going to run Redshift and show you how it looks. So I'll just drop the resolution down from 720p, so we can get a faster response and feedback from my laptop. All right, so going to. All right, this is what we have. So what I like about Redshift, how responsive it is with IPR and also with the picture viewer. You can change colors, change lighting. It will be, responding to your commands. So here, as I said, we started from this angle. So it was the structure and the starts just falling apart, exploding. Then we start getting smoother shapes and cubes. I also use translucent materials to get this nice jade effect, but it still looks like crystals. And then we can see all of that floating. I was like, why not zooming in? So basically, I had an animation. I was just playing with camera and see how far I can get with that. And then we started just getting closer, and the focal points and the focus, I just started shifting from the foreground a bit further. And that allowed me to focus on these cubes here. So it looks pretty cool. Now what I'm going to show you is how we can basically, by using camera and also changing lens settings, achieve very cool effects. So this is the animation I just showed to you. I will, a bit shorter, shortly after that, I will jump to another project. I'll show you how I created this animation from scratch. So first of all, I would like to talk about rendering, how I usually render and approach scenes, and how I do upscaling, and why I do upscaling, why I do denoising, when I cut corners where I can. So this image I got, it was just a 4K render. Actually, it was done on my computer, I think maybe like 30, 40 minutes per frame, because I decided to crank up the settings to get a very nice and crisp image. But if we zoom in, I'll be zooming very slowly. As you can see, it's a bit blurry in this area. We're missing some details. So I just went to another software with AI and decided to do upscaling because I wanted to get more crisp close-up shots. And this is what we got. So now reflections are beautiful, everything looks crisp, nice, well-defined. And this is where I could start making some crops for social media, for portrait modes, for wallpapers, all done for one single image. The same I did for this shot. I will also come back to this a bit later and explain how exactly I achieved this effect. Same thing here, we can see all these caustic blurrings, but actually just a lens effect that creates this long exposure effect in Cinema 4D. So we're missing some details here. So now I switch into another image, which was upscaled. And now everything looks crisp. Even here, we can see details we were missing in here. What I like about upscaling, it allows you to get some very cool, sometimes unpredictable results where you don't expect them, or expect those the less. But in this particular shot, it actually works very well. And the third shot, still the same composition, same scene. The frame was 131. I will show you how it works. So I'll close it down. I will jump to to another folder, close-ups, and this is what we can get from one single composition. It's pretty cool, huh? Just from one single scene, you can get beautiful wallpapers. That's why I call it satisfying arts, because satisfying not only from the point how you make it, but also how you can utilize simple things. So again, we got this, yeah, again, from the image, 8K image, which was originally upscaled. Here as well, here, from one single scene. It's pretty interesting, and for me, it's like a sandbox. I go on in a sandbox, I'll see what happens. I try to put more sands, then I try to. I would like to build a castle. The same happens in Sim of 4D, just playing with standard tools and testing the limits, how far you can go. All right. So I will get back to Sim of 4D. I'll open the window picture viewer, and I drop a couple of images I pre-rendered before. All right. Now this is what I'm going to refer to. I open the picture viewer because it's just easier to see the difference. So this is the standard lens. I didn't touch anything. So we had just a composition, just standard lens with some heavy bokeh. And then I decided to play with aspects, ratio, and also with the intensity of bokeh. Same shot. This is what we get. It looks like long exposure effects. I also decided to apply the fisheye effects. So even with the fisheye, you can get this very nice rounded distortions around the composition, which is I find pretty interesting and fascinating. So, all right, we'll jump back to this composition. I'll show you. So we have the main camera. I will start running. I'll close this and open the render view again. So we have the same shots. Earlier I said it was frame 131. That's why sometimes in this object tree, I leave some notes for myself, so it's easy for me to understand what I've done and how to get back to it. And then we just change the camera. One shot. This is what we got. We had another camera, same shot. We just, jumping around the scene. And now it's fisheye, that's why it's rounded. And as I said, same camera with different settings. So I will clearly try to explain how it works. So we go to optical settings, and we can see the focus distance. So you just take the eyedropper and select the areas you would like to focus on. And then we go to bokeh. Oh, this one is lovely. So the aspect is by default set at 1, and we just start driving it. And now this is what we get. It's more like stretched vertically, and we can go to the horizontal as well. And this is what we start getting in this area. I will focus on these cubes. The most fascinating thing is spherical aberration. I find it pretty cool. So I'm going to go to the maximum value. Pretty crazy. This helps us to create these crazy distortions around the cubes. That looks like caustics, but it's not even motion blur. You could do that with motion blur and just create an echo effect in After Effects, so you'll get these stretched shapes in post-production. But here, the picture keeps rendering, and you now can see very cool effects here. What I can do as well, how I usually approach the scene, I will close it down. I'll just create a new camera, so get back to perspective. So this is the animation we have. The cube's floating. Now what if we want to get a new angle, get a bit closer? So what I usually do, I create the camera, redshift camera, and we go to, let's say, the focal length. So by default, 35. I'll go to 80, maybe telephoto, 120. So now we have a narrower angle. Let's see how we can animate everything, like not animate, but make the visualization by changing just the camera angle. So this is what we have. It's a bit dark because I have an HDRI map behind it. So at the bottom is darker, and that's why I'm going just to slightly turn it up like this. Oh, sorry, it looks pretty cool. All right, now we just need to imagine like you're a photographer. You have a static objects, and you just would like to get nice close-up shots. Like early in the morning, you have a piece of grass, and there is eye drop, raindrop. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Redshift Camera, Optical. We change the focus distance. I'll focus on this central cube, on this one. And now we go into Aperture. We'll just start playing with that. We activate the bokeh. Now this is what we get. An aspect ratio, let's say, we'll get an anamorphic, so 0.75, let's say, and spherical aberration could be 1.2, so it gets sharper edges. But by the way, you also can use your own pre-made bokehs as images that would be applied. How you can do that? You go to Image, and this is where you can load your bokehs. So I'll go here. Where was it? I think I don't remember actually where I put it. Yeah, it was here. HDRI. HDRI, so I also will talk about that. Here we have bokeh. Yep. Yeah, so I have I pre-downloaded, pre-made some of the bokehs. We can select this one with some chromatic aberrations. Well, let's say no, because I will just leave it on my computer, my hard drive. I will use the region render just to define the area I would like to test. Let's say here. And when we render it, we'll see in this area, it's still calculating, but we'll see some rounded edges, like colored edges, because by default it's just whites. But when you load an image, you can get a very nice photorealistic bokehs like you can get with your DSLR camera. So this is how we can fake the real world with the digital worlds. So there are many opportunities. It can be just a triangle, it can be a hexagon, pentagon, any shape and form. All right. So this is what we can get here. And when I create art and try to get another shot, I literally just jump around and try to say like, oh, I don't like it. Let's go further. I like to get a bit bigger cubes here. All right, this shot, for example, looks cool, and I would tell myself, all right, let's try to make something with that. I'll go to camera and try to change the focal points again and the focus area as well. For me, it's just fun. I always try to see what I can get with different angles and shots. And this is how I approach it. And this is how daily renders usually happen, because you have an animation you've done in 30 minutes, and then you just keep experimenting. Because I try to set the limits, like 2 days per animation, because if I work more than 2 days on one animation for myself, it's no longer a daily render. It's more like a week render. So this is what we get. Next step, I'm going to show you the animation. So this is the most interesting here. So what I've done initially, I had the clone objects. So I had a cube, 3 cubes, because I would like to apply 3 different materials. So it will be metallic, let's say aluminum, it would be glass, and maybe frosted glass as well. So something we could see before. And there is a tag called dynamic body tag. We can drop it through the bullet tag option, like menu. So it pops up, I put rigid body, and we play it just dropping down because we have the gravity activated. I would like to deactivate it so it could work more with turbulence. So I go to the main settings, I go to bullets, and here gravity. By default it's 1000, so we just reduce it to 0 to nil. And that was boring, nothing is happening. It's not even dropping down. So what we're going to do, we're going to activate the turbulence. All right. And now it doesn't move because we have the shader field activated in here. So I'm going to deactivate it. And the turbulence will start happening from the first frame. Instead of floating around and the cubes start hitting each other. But what I like here is that, as you can see, there is something restricting the cubes. Basically, it's just a sphere I put on top of that. It's just a normal sphere. I decided to invert the normals, so the animation would be happening inside the sphere. If we had the animation that would be attracting to the sphere, you would need to reverse the normal, back to normal, back to normal, yeah. But here I wanted to have like animation happening inside the orb. So, but we don't want to see the sphere, right? So we're going just to hide it, like. And now what we have the turbulence. So it's started exploding. The cube started also changing shape. How I did that pretty easily. So I went to the cube settings, and here the fillets. So I'll just show the timeline. We are on the frame 50. So I started playing animation and trying to understand where I want to change the fillets. And when this exploded, I wanted to create one more explosion driven by the change of the cube's fillets, so it becomes more rounded. And then we also can apply random effector. Because it's mode dynamics, you can also add direct with standard modificators. And now the random effector also will be activated on the frame 40 and 50. You can see that the scale of cubes all started changing. So it's pretty cool. The next thing was, all right, I have a shape of sphere, but it's too defined. I can see actually the borders of this shape. I want to bring a bit more noise, a bit more fun. And I activated the displacer for the sphere. And if we check the sphere, it's just bounces, displaces, and starts affecting the animation happening inside. So in real worlds, we wouldn't get this effect. That's why we have Cinema 4D and just digital arts. And all these cubes are just hitting each other. It's pretty crazy. But this is not quite what I wanted, because the animation is a bit too speedy, a bit too abstract and chaotic. I wanted to bring it a bit more subtlety. That's why I used the friction modifier. And now it's like imagine the air density. So the higher the pressure and density, the more smoother the animation becomes. This is what I get here. So now we have the animation happening, but it's very smooth. And you can do like many cool shots with that. And with turbulence, what I also noticed in the beginning, we had the turbulence, but it happens on the first frame. What if we want to also add direct the turbulence? We can put the shader field. I will activate it and will show the settings. I decided to put the noise inside this field. And it's just, you can also change different settings from noise to naked, mod noise. I just decided to use noise. But usually I use turbulence. It just gets pretty cool effects here. And now we just need to animate it. So imagine you have a data, like the visual data, zeros and 1 and 0. So in Cinema 4D, with a noise effector, like white color would be 1, and black will be 0. So by animating these default settings, we can get a pretty cool reveal effect. So you can see, I'll just call it up. There is an animation happening with the noise effect. We're literally like revealing. You can get the same effects in compositing with After Effects, but it can be used as a map for our direction of your animations. And then we go to 0. If we play the animation, so animation will start happening not all at once, but moving from one section of the cloner object to another. And this is what we start getting. Pretty interesting. So you also can do procedurally increase the number of cloners, because we have 6, it can be 8, it can be more. But the more objects you have, the heavier the simulation will be. So now we have more cubes. So it's like playing, you remember the game Half-Life, when you had like a gravity gun and you need to pull an object and see how it responds. The same as Cinema 4D. You can even take the sphere, hit the play button, and change the scales of the sphere, of this like dome that affects the simulation. And you will see in real life how it plays with bullet dynamics. So it's actually like playing with toys for me. All right, but now everything is slow. We would like to art direct and do some lighting. So what we're going to do, we go to the setting, go to cache, and we'll just cache the animation. So let's bake everything. This is when I usually go and get a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. Yeah. For example, now I feel a bit thirsty, so I'll take a sip. Well, let's wait. Almost done. Please don't crash. Wonderful. I'll save the product just in case. And now everything is animated. We can just play the animation, and every time you change something, you will need to recache the simulation. The next step will be applying the materials. So this is the fun part. We create 3 materials: material, one more material, and we'll just apply it to our cubes, just like that. And we'll see what happens. So we go to Redshift, render view, and from here, this is what I usually love about my job. When you've done the boring animation, objects, everything is beautiful. Now you can start art directing and do your creative job. We go to the settings, as I did before. Now we drop it down to 960. So lock the ratio. All right, let's hit the render button. All right, this is what we get, plain, not interesting. We will create, I think, the dome light first. All right, so by default, it's just a white column. But I would like to bring a ramp, you know, like in photographs where the backdrop brings color and creates these beautiful translucent gradients, yeah, in reflections and refractions. So I will apply this tag. I will go to the settings. This is what we get. Basically, I did the same a few days ago, but for area lights. Today, we'll be doing it with the dome lights. Actually, here it won't work. We will go to C4D shader. We'll choose gradients and connect it to general texture. So now you also can see that it has already been happening in our viewports. So we go here and change the modes from U to V. Now we have the vertical gradient, and now you can direct the intensity like this. It's a bit dark, so we'll go to the main settings, and I think what we will do is to increase the exposure to make it a bit brighter. Well, sorry, what I'm doing. Yeah. All right. So the next thing will be to create the first material. So let's say I'll take this one. I'll go to and create the glass. So this is the first material. The second material, we just go to this one and change to copper. I will adjust the colors a bit later. And then we go to glass, but we'll make it frosted glass. We go to the roughness setting, and let's say 0.3. Lovely. And this is what we get. So there's a frosted glass, there's just normal glass and copper. So let's increase to 0.5. Yeah, let's leave it like that. So the next thing will be creating one more dome light because we have just the backdrop. We like to get more reflections, beautiful reflections. So what we're going to do is just to go to the dome lights. And now it's crazy bright. And we go to HDRI. Images, there are a couple of settings. I also did upscaling for one of the HDRI maps. It's processing the texture because it's like, I think in 10K, pretty heavy. So, but what we have here, now we have reflections. What we can do is just spin the HDRI map and see what happens. Yeah. All right, I will just roll it to that side, to the left, to the left. All right, we start getting somewhere. Next thing is I go to this copper material. I'm going to add more roughness here and apply coating. It's like in car paint. You have the main car paint, and then you have coating, some polishing. This is what we're gonna do. So we apply it. Let's say 3. You go to Now it's a bit shiny, so we have the main diffuse, reflection, then we have coating as well. We also, what we can do here is to create one more light to get very hot, like reflections. So I create the area lights. We move it away from there. Beautiful. Now it goes above. Amazing. So you go to the intensity setting. Let's reduce it to 50. To 25. Nice. And change the shape so it's like a long strip. So I go to X and just keep increasing it to this. It's not physically correct, but who cares? So now we have beautiful reflections here. With the material here, we also can play with, I think, anisotropy. I will reduce it to 1 and creates this anisotropy effect we can see on our pan or below it, yeah, under it. All right, beautiful. Now it's time to play with the camera. So I create the camera. I go to the optical settings. So it's a bit, I don't like this. So we just switch the materials off so we can just see the geometry. We created the camera. We go to, I just hide it. Let's start playing. All right. We change it to 80. It's like a portrait camera effects. All right. Now we go to optical, activate bokeh, like I said. Drop the aperture down to 1, so it's crazy blurry. We don't like it. Now we do like it. Nice. And we go to bokeh. Let's make it cinematic. If you want any cinematic things, you just, do it like with anamorphic lens. This is what we usually can hear from our art directors and clients. Make it look cinematic. Why not? And 0.5. Now we have a crazy blur. Nice. And this is like the start point. And from this point, we can also play with color correction. As I did a few days ago, we just go to color controls here. We create one point here and start driving the shadows, make it darker, make it pop, yeah? Make it pop. Beautiful. We go to the colors. I think the color palettes I used in the original project was I took the red. All right, let's make it vintage. Oh, now it's expensive. All right, so this goes up and bring a bit more blur, so it doesn't look too ill. Nice. And this is basically how it will work. We've done something in 30 minutes, and the next step would be just creating different camera angles. So we copy and paste it. In order to not ruin anything, I would lock this camera. I go to this camera as well. And now one shot is set up. We can now move to another one, get closer, change the focal points and the focus area as well. Let's concentrate on this one. So now we have like a foreground composition. Oh, this one looks lovely. I really like the reflections here. So why not concentrate on this cube? All right, now it's in focus. That's it. This is how I made my previous scene. This is what we can do. So I think we still have time. I can run through other shots. Yeah, we have still have like 10 minutes. So where was it? I will go to just some animations like this one. I will run this. This one is lagging. So yeah, no, it's good. So we'll try to make something like this very quickly. So I will create some new projects. The sphere, everything starts from the sphere. We go to the quick shading here. It's changed to hexagons. Increase I think we leave the radius at 100. Increase the segments. Now it's nice and dense. Go to sphere. Simulation tags. We apply cloth. As we did before, if we don't touch anything, the sphere will just drop, which we don't want to happen. So we go in here and gravity change to 0. Go to our objects and simulate forces. I love this one. Turbulence. Now we need to change the turbulence from scale. I think scale would be 50. Strength will be 50 as well. Forces. I think it should be alright. So let's see. Woof. Nice. The next thing will be adding friction, as we did with cubes, just to bring a bit air pressure. So we go here. I think angular strength 50. So it would be like this. All right, now it happens a bit smoother. And what we can do is just to go to our cloth surface here, and we'll change the thickness from 1.5 because now it looks more like leather. So let's make it thinner to 0.75. All right, and increase the amount of segments 500. Why not making it crazy? All right. It will take time because it pre-caches the simulation. And now we start getting some pretty cool rippling effects here. I'll pause it here. I will convert the sphere. So what we do, the current state to objects. So we delete everything. Now we have just the sphere, just as a single object. You can also use sculpting tools to change the cloth. So here we're going to drop the subdivision surface to make it a bit smoother. Wow, nice. Now we have the objects, creates a new material. We need to activate Redshift first because I'm still on the older version of Cinema 4D. So now we create material, drop it. Beautiful. In order to not waste our time, I'll just take this HDRI and drop it here at this scene. It's still loading because of the subdivision surface. I'll just disable it. Now we have the dome lights. Go to Redshift, render view. This is what we have. What I like also about Cinema 4D is how easy to fake everything. So you can just go to dome lights and say, I don't want this to show any backgrounds. So we just disable it. Now it's just happening in the vast studio with no lights. So we go to our material, and let's make it dark. Let's increase the IOR to 6. Now it's more like chrome. We go to roughness, increase it, why not? So go to 20. Beautiful. Now we go to coating and make some beautiful reflections here. Now we have a pretty cool metallic effects. Create a camera, enable it. Let's go to quick shading and disable materials. Nice. Move closer to this area. Turn the camera 45 degrees so we can get some nice angular shots here. All right, wonderful. What we want to do now is to go to optical setting, and I would like to focus on this ripple here. Activate the bokeh, go to 1. Nice. Now it looks very high quality. So what we can do here, make it look even more luxurious. Go to 80 mil, zoom out slightly, leave this area in focus. Now it's out of focus, so we're going to treat it well. That's it. So this is pretty much the animation I showed you with the ripple effects. But I had also this. How's it called? It was not turbulence. I had the rotation. So that would start spinning the closed simulation, and you also can art direct it with noise fields I showed to you. So the turning points and rotation would happen in one section, then we go to another one, growing, and then it starts spinning all together and curling up our cloth objects. So, and in order to finish the final touches, make it cinematic, make it pop. Beautiful. Now we have this composition. We go to our color gradient here, go to RGB color, RGB please, right? This is what we get. And then, of course, the cloth will be simulating. You'll be just jumping from one camera to another, and you will have a pretty cool animation you will be able to put on your portfolio, just done in a couple of days. Very simple things, but with lighting, with color, you can just achieve pretty cool effects in Cinema 4D fairly quickly. I think that's it. I think we've done it pretty well today. Nice. I think this is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I can answer here or there. Thank you.